So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? And did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort for change? And did you exchange a walk-on part in the wall for a lead role in a cage? How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. What have we found? The same old fear. Wish you were here. You're welcome.
So you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell?
It's interesting to me that after all these years, I don't know whether you've ever kind of reflected on your role here, but that sort of, you're not really head-on engaged in this creative difference.
No, absolutely not. I'm fond of occasionally. Well, someone once asked me if I was the Henry Kissinger of rock and roll, and I said not really. I'm more the Neville Chamberlain, peace in our time. You know, it's the thing is that I found a way of existing in this world, and I have to, it's sort of, that's where I was, that's where I am, really. And there is no, it's not as though this is some brilliant premeditated piece of, oh God, I've got to defuse this situation, what can I possibly do? It's nothing like that. I mean, sometimes it's just, I find it entertaining, I'd say, almost. But the problem is, if you didn't have those tensions, you wouldn't have the albums. It's you can't have the one without the other, I think, or not in our particular situation. So that's how it is.
Do you have a sense of at what point this discussion took place about, what direction is this album taking? Where are we going?
I have no recollection of any discussion. I think it would, I think we ended up with a whole series of exercises that were devised to see whether we might come up with some idea out of it, and that included someone going into the studio, playing at a certain tempo, and then someone else going in without hearing the backing track, so to speak, and putting a track down. Pretty sort of interesting from a sort of musicologist's point of view, perhaps, or a psychiatrist, but not really for. It was not. It was a dead end, and there were a series of dead ends until we actually got some sort of musical input. I look back and I can't remember thinking, oh, I don't want to be playing this music or anything like that. But we just seem to have wandered off the path, and I mean, maybe we'd sort of achieved rather a lot of things that we'd set out to achieve, and now rather needed to sort of reset the compass, really. I don't think we felt, right, time to retire or anything like that, but we weren't really sure how to move on from there. And this is sort of my impression looking back now. I can't really remember the thoughts, but I think there were issues with almost everything. There were technical issues. We were trying to get better quality sound. We were rebuilding mixers. The road crew were disorganized. We were hiring and firing people where one of us would hire them and another would fire them, and so on, which is, again, not conducive to a tight ship.
You yourselves had suddenly met the full force of the sort of power of the music business, being launched into these stadium tours and so on.
Yeah, again, of our own volition. I mean, I'm feeling bad about sort of painting too gloomy a picture of the record industry, because there were a lot of really good people there, some of whom are still friends of mine, and it would be wrong to blame them in a way, because quite often there is a nasty tendency to sort of blame people, the band, or if the record's a failure, it's always the record company's fault. If it's a success, it's your own doing. That sort of attitude.
Yeah, I mean, quite a few people listening to the record might think, well, these guys did pretty well out of the music business, actually, so what are they complaining about?
Yeah. Well, the answer is they're complaining about, or Roger or we are complaining about, a sort of attitude that one's fighting that it is a commercial enterprise, but it also is something more than that on a good day, and that's one wants it to be taken seriously rather than treated as just a product.
And do you think there was that this period which is so difficult for everyone to dredge up? Do you think it's that kind of struggle between you think you're an artist, you set out as an artist, then, whoa, hang on, suddenly you've got to put on a different hat, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. And I mean, I think again, one's sort of learnt now that this is part of the package. This is what you have to do. And again, today the younger musicians tend to be entrepreneurial, and I think there was a sort of curious view at the time that came out of the 60s of, oh man, I don't deal with the money, the suits do that, which is actually a rather poor way of operating. And the fact of the matter is you can be creative at every level, and the more you take control, command, have an input into everything, the better it usually is. And you can make all the aspects of the business, whether it's, it can be the level, the quality of the design on the T-shirt. It's quite important. You can sell the tackiest T-shirts and leave that to someone else, or you can try and make something that you feel reflects your values and try and do things well rather than badly.
When I think of Syd, I don't think of the Syd within Pink Floyd, really. And I don't think of the solo Syd afterwards and those recording sessions, which I can cast my mind back to. But I think of him as a younger chap from 14, 15, 16, and the times that we spent together long before that, hitchhiking around France together, busking in Saint-Tropez, and all sorts of other moments that are sort of very important memories, part of my growing up. Trying to actually piece together that period of time and how that all came out of these rather negative feelings that we all were lost in a little bit is very hard. I can't quite piece it together. My current revisionist thinking would have to be that by the time we were that far down the line in the album, putting those extra songs which you hear have a cigar into it, that any feeling of absence had probably, apart from thinking about Syd, had probably gone, and we were in full hard-working creative mode. And I would think that the inspiration for that absence, which obviously helped in the formation of the words for Wish You Were Here and Shine On You Crazy Diamond, and that was obviously a big thing in Roger's head, in all of our heads, I suppose, but put into words by Roger, was earlier in the process when things were moving very, very slowly, and I suspect, like a snowball going down a hill, it gradually picked up momentum and pace, and gradually those thoughts would have become less and less obvious. It's my theory. We had just been touring with Dark Side of the Moon, i.e. sort of at the top of the tree, and coming into contact with a lot of people who incomprehensibly seemed to be at the top of the tree in the American, particularly, recording industry, English as well to some extent, and our disbelief, really, that these people were capable of being the ones that were running that sort of company. It's a bit like one's disbelief that these politicians can be running the country we're living in at the moment. They don't seem competent. But there was a lot of that, and that's sort of described quite vividly in Have a Cigar, particularly.
Have a Cigar.
And Welcome to the Machine, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like black holes in the sky. Shine on, you crazy diamond. You were caught in the crossfire of childhood and stardom, blown on the steel breeze. Come on, you target for faraway laughter. Come on, you stranger, you legend, you martyr, and shine.
I would famously rail against people who made connections with stadium audiences, like the Stones or whoever it might be. I couldn't be happier now than to be there. But mind you, I put on a show which I feel draws people in because the messages in it are very strong, and they know me a lot better than they did then, and I know them a lot better, and that we're all sort of focused on the same thing, and I'm entirely content with it. But yes, in those days it was very problematic. You know, in those days, and it got worse and worse as we then, through 75 and 76 and 77, started playing to larger and larger audiences. We would start to, or I would start to bemoan the fact that, oh, I remember when we used to play Santa Monica Civic and there were only 3,500 people and you could hear a pin drop. Everybody sat there and concentrated and listened, and and how marvellous it was. And now they're all hooping and hollering, and shouting and screaming and getting drunk and whatever. Well, when I do gigs now, if they sit there like that, I go, what the fuck is wrong with these people? When you come out of a hotel, you're going to a gig, and there's lines and lines of people all wanting an autograph, or they want you to be part of their business proposition, which is selling signed, Fender Esquire guitars. And there's these teams of people, all with scratch plates and cameras, and so there's a little sort of industry that's about eBay, and it's about getting a little bit of you that they can sell to somebody who cares. And that's sort of ugly. I find that ugly. I don't like it. And in fact, I don't sign guitars or scratch plates or anything like that anymore. I did for years and years, and in the end, I went, no. I can sort of understand you being a fan and caring about the work that I've done, and wanting me to make my paw mark on something that you own. To go, wow. I could, if I had a signed copy of All the Pretty Horses, I would go, wow, Cormac signed that. I watched him do it. He put his pen on there, and I don't think it wouldn't give the book any more value for me, but I would certainly go, hey, look, he's Cormac McCarthy. Great. So that I can understand, but I couldn't, get him to sign a typewriter and then sell it on eBay. It would be dumb. It would be completely dumb. But, so I think the star thing, if we're honest, it's nice that people go, wow, you're really clever, I go, oh, thank you very much. Oh, you're a really good actor. Or you've got really nice tits, whatever it might be. But in the long term, although it might be gratifying in a passing way, it's not. It doesn't help. In fact, I think it hinders. I think it creates an impediment towards you going on and doing more work that you can enjoy doing. The work is the thing. That's the great gift. did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage? Which is a very important line in the song, if you like the song and if you care to, because given Proposition 1, which is it's really important to look carefully at the question of whether whether you're getting the reality. Is a veil being drawn across your eyes? Do you buy the whole North American consumerist vision of heaven or not? And if you don't, well then it may be that you get to ask questions about, well, what is actually going on then, and how close are we to living in an Orwellian nightmare? Are we closer to the reality of what he wrote about in 1984, or are we closer to and the hell that is described there, or are we closer to the heaven that Thatcher and Reagan believed would come out of monetarism and a free global market and so on and so forth? My view is that we're closer to the 1984 vision, and that we, all of us to some extent, but some of us to a very large extent, wander around like zombies, playing Eminem's game about going to hell, which is fundamentally a beautiful illustration of what it is that people demand, given that they're not able to tell a smile from a veil, or heaven from hell, or blue skies from pain. So the line that comes later, which is about the walk-on part in the war or lead role in a cage, is if you're prepared to be enslaved in the cage of not seeing, then it is not an option for you to take a walk-on role in the war. And in the sense of the couplet in the song, the war is the war that, if you determine the difference between a smile and a veil, the war that you wage on behalf of yourself and your own humanity, and on behalf of all the rest of what is human in people, and what is laudable, and what demands our attention, and demands that we try and stop them killing Jamal, or Troy Davis, or that we demand that, the Iranian government stop torturing their young people, or that these generals in Egypt now, have started to arrest people because they're playing the guitar and singing protest songs, and take them somewhere and torture them half to death and before they let them go again. And it demands that we pay attention to this.